Hello, my name is Robert Eberhard, and I will be presenting my paper on the cost of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act was passed in 2012 and came about after seemingly rampant accounting frauds that populated the early 21st century. Companies including Enron, Tyco International, and WorldCom, just to name a few, took advantage of lax accounting standards to commit various versions of fraud, ultimately causing billions of dollars in losses to investors due to bankruptcy or shareholder lawsuits. Senator Paul Sarbanes, Democrat from Maryland, and Representative Michael Oxley, a Republican from Ohio, led a bipartisan effort to implement stronger controls for both public companies and the accounting firms that audit them in order to restore faith and trust in public companies and their accounting firms. And so far, it seems to be working. There are 11 sections of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. They mainly focus on strengthening independence and accountability of both accounting firms and management teams at public companies. But they also specifically identify certain white-collar crimes as frauds and assign punishment for these offenses. Perhaps more importantly, the creation of the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board, or the PCAOB, is a quasi-governmental organization made up of accounting professionals, standardized certain requirements across all public companies regardless of size or industry, and clarified all audit rules for public companies. It is also an agency that continually works to improve the process and makes new recommendations as industries and companies change. I personally feel that the PCAOB was the best thing to come out of Sarbanes-Oxley, if only because it created a lot of employment for future accountants. Another important part of Sarbanes-Oxley is requiring true analyst independence. An analyst is no longer supposed to be able to report about a company of which they have an interest, either through their firm being an advisor or consultant on an IPR or whatever, or any other kind of business relationship. This helps make analyst reports more transparent, and investors can have faith that there are not ulterior motives behind good reports, and vice versa. It is also, as a result of Sarbanes-Oxley, there have been numerous things shown that that show Sarbanes-Oxley in a positive light. For example, it has been shown that cross-listed companies, which are foreign companies that are cross-listed in the United States stock exchanges for investment, and thus required to comply under Sarbanes-Oxley, to have more transparency than their non-cross-listed peers. Borrowing costs are also lower for compliant companies, and share prices have been elevated for companies that manage their internal controls. This helps show investors that companies are good investments, or at least all public information about them is legit, and makes people more willing to invest. Before Sarbanes-Oxley was passed, there were concerns about higher costs associated with compliance under Sarbanes-Oxley, and those have been relatively unfounded. While our expenses have increased, due to requiring more things to be reported, the improved transparency has encouraged more investment, as mentioned previously. Also, initial concerns about companies choosing to go private to avoid the compliance requirement have been shown to not be true, as there was no direct correlation found between companies choosing to go private around the time that Sarbanes-Oxley was passed. In conclusion, the compliance issues and costs associated with Sarbanes-Oxley are well worth the increased cost, and better company performance has been a result. Investors in public markets have been more willing to invest in companies that meet all the requirements because they can trust the information provided, and it is easier to monitor companies across multiple industries because of the standardization from the PCAOB. While Sarbanes-Oxley alone will not prevent future frauds from occurring, it at least has laid the framework to minimize the risk of something catastrophic happening. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.